Welcome to edition 5 of RaceSpot Race Day, here streaming live on iRacing Live from one of the most classic circuits in Europe as we bring the series finally over to Europe. It is Monza. It's going to be fast-paced, it's going to be furious, and it will start next here on your home of the World Championship Series. There are 3 different paths if you want to call yourself a world champion of sim racing. NASCAR, open wheels, or endurance racing. But no matter which one you take, you can guarantee that the journey will always be tough, which few will ever complete. The iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, the premier road racing series in sim racing, started with a new car taking center stage. Then, it was Martin Kroenke resisting any challenge thrown at him to break the 5-year stranglehold of Gregor Hutu as being world champion. These drivers and teams are not just competing for pride, they're competing for money. And with over $20,000 in prizes for each of the series up for grabs, drivers really do put it all on the line.
The NASCAR Beginner for Series powered by iRacing is the premier NASCAR eSports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a 3-time Oval World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign.
The Blancpain GT Series hosts the top GT3 endurance teams in sim racing, with groups of 3 or more drivers sharing the wheel. This is a championship you can't win alone, and you need the same determination, passion and drive from your teammates to be successful. They often say that it takes just one mistake to lose a championship, and in team racing, it may not be your mistake that costs you the win. Last season, VRS Coanda SimSport won the championship by a single point. This year, who will step up to the plate?
These are the iRacing eSport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. Catch it all season long with live coverage on iRacing.com/live. Good morning, race fans, and welcome to Monza, set in the heart of Italy. This is one of those 4 tracks that has been there pretty much ever since the first year of Grand Prix racing, and it survived the test of time. Whilst there may no longer be the oval in use, and whilst they have most recently reconfigured the track in 2000, this track is still the fastest that any driver in an open wheel machine will ever go to outside, arguably, of an oval. It's 70% plus flat out here. And for the Formula Renault Sim Cup, that means we're going to get ourselves some very tight racing on, we will have to say, a slightly smaller field than what we're used to today. Track conditions then up on your screen. 71 degrees Fahrenheit, 52% humidity, wind speeds of about 10 kilometers an hour. Can I hand it over then to your commentators for RaceSpot Race Day, Jonathan Simon and Mr. Paul Smith. Paul, over to you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Will, and welcome to the Cathedral of Speed that is
Whoa. You
outside
can't
of
say
North
that
America.
in the month of May.
Outside of North America, Will. You didn't let me finish. But yeah, we are here at Monza, fantastic venue, always produces some fantastic racing as well. And well, got Jonathan Swan sitting here with us in the commentary booth. Well, these Formula Renaults, it's going to be all about that draft today, isn't it?
It is definitely going to be about the draft, and I'm just trying to take in your savagery about calling this place the Cathedral of Speed compared to Indy, but we'll mess around with that later on. The draft is important here. The best drivers around Monza are generally late breakers, and the drivers who are able to keep a stable front end while still trail braking into corners. Because you look at all the characteristics here, the rettifilio in the first chicane, throw the car into that first chicane. There's no need for a good exit, so that's where the trail breakers really benefit from. The same with the Ascari as well, the Ascari complex. The Parabolica, another one too, where you're able to pick up the throttle mid-corner once you trail brake and get that front end into the corner. So going to be an interesting race anyway with only 12 drivers, because we don't know how they're going to react with such a small field.
Well, we'll look at the championship standing. Simon Maria Marcena had a disaster last time out at Road America. He's still in the championship by 1 point ahead of Carlos Yaveza and also Alex Sadler. Yoni Silvestre is, well, raced 3 and won 3 in this championship, so he's on 132 points. And Aurelien Talmon in 5th place on the 1 point ahead of Richard Arnaud. So definitely a really close championship here, Jonathan. And looking forward to this race. What are your thoughts? We believe that we've got Yoni Silvestre on pole position. We'll confirm that when we get close to the time. But thoughts on this race then, Johnny? It's going to be close between the two championship protagonists.
Yeah, if you think about it, Silvestri's basically got a 100% win rate. So he's really been the dominant driver since he's entered the championship. He wasn't there at Interlagos for race number 1. Neither was I. So I didn't get to see what a race was without the rapid driver that is Silvestre. But he's going through Lesmo 1 now. And he loses the car there and he's off the racetrack. So Silvestre making mistakes in warm-up. He's looked shaky in warm-up. Either he's experimenting, Paul, or he's just not into it right now in this session with race fuel, because he's been off the track a couple times. He's been on the gravel here and there. And there we have another spin. Well,
let's not forget what the great Michael Schumacher used to do in practice sessions. He would push the limit, and go over the limit. And so then he'd know how far he could push the car in the race. And, you know, a little bit different conditions. You know, they've got to get used to the conditions. They've only got 10 minutes. Well, they've only got 30 seconds left of the 10-minute warm-up. It's all about just finding where those limits are.
It is. That's ironic, because Schumacher really hated simulators, and his style, as you just mentioned, is basically what a sim racer does. You jump into a car and no wonder you crash 100 times because you're trying to find the limit. And in the real world, when you jump into a car, you're obviously built into that speed. You don't crash 100 times. One crash and pretty much the day is over. So right now, in warm-up anyway, you just slap on the race fuel. Conditions are a little bit different to qualifying, possibly. You just want to gain as much confidence as you can towards the race. Normally what I used to do in practice before you head to the grid is you want to base yourself on lap times, and that's how you base how warmed up you are. But I think in the warm-up session with race fuel, it's based on confidence, not your pace.
Okay, so we'll take a look at that grid now. It is Yoni Silvestre on pole position ahead of Simon Maria Marcena. Alex Sadler in 3rd place with Aurelien Talmon in 4th. Dennis Guerrerson in 5th place with Scott Newton in 6th. That's the front 3 rows of the grid. Then for the second half of the grid, Fabrice Cornelis, Scott McIntyre 7th and 8th, Richard Arnaud in 9th, and Oli Kvoka 10th. Andrei Rajkovic in 11th, and well, we've got the final position there. John Brezina in 12th. It is a small grid. Will did mention it at the opening of the broadcast, a little bit smaller grid than we're used to. Maybe a little bit of effect of the Formula 1 being on this morning, but we're getting all set then for the start of this race. Well, it'll be interesting to see how they cope with turn number 1. The revs rise now. Waiting for the green light. The green light is on, away we go then from the start, and it is a good start from Silvestri. Gets away from Simone Maria-Masena. Look at Sadler and Talmon though, getting up behind. They're going 3-4 wide, heading down towards turn number 1. It's been a scene of so much chaos in the past. Only Foka gets into the back of one, and we've got a big accident there, and disaster there. We've got some more spinners. Talmon, he's out this one. Cornelis is out of this one as well. Big drama there at the start, but Masena looking for the lead now on Yoli Silvestri as they're heading down towards the second chicane. The Della Roggia is on the outside line, so he's going to brake a little bit earlier, try and carry the speed through the chicane. It's not worked though there, and so the top 3 pretty close together as they're heading towards the first of the Lesmos here. A bit of battling further on behind, and that would be actually McIntyre. It was Scott McIntyre who caused the incident, not Oleg Foka. I do apologise, but yeah, heading through towards down towards the Ascara chicane, and Johnny, the front 3, they're trying to make a breakaway here.
They are. So Silvestri, Masena, Sadler, all having a look here in this on the run down to Ascari. No one's close enough, and that incident at the start, it looked like it was Scott McIntyre who went straight into the back of Fabrice Cornelis, who had nowhere to go, and he did pretty much what Tony Aluzzi did in Formula 1 a few years ago and went straight into the first corner, collecting a lot of cars dangerously. But here we go for the lead, Marceno.
Certainly in the slipstream, looking to the inside. The Parabolica gonna go in late, but that's gonna compromise his apex a little bit, and this is where you can then carry the speed around the outside in. Silvestri is trying to do it. Masena trying to break any draft that there would be there. He's going right up to the pit wall then as they go across the line, and here comes Sadler now down the outside of the 3 of them now. 3 of them side by side, 3 wide heading towards the Rettifilio. Masena is going to take that lead and keep it, but through the first chicane, Alex Sadler moving up to second place then, forcing Silvestri wide. And this is the first time, really, Johnny, that we've seen somebody able to challenge Silvestri at the start of a race.
Yes, and what was Silvestri doing at the exit of the Parabolica? He should have tucked into the slipstream of Marceno, and now, instead of going for a shot for P1 cleanly, he's allowed Sadler into second, and he's in third. He had a poor exit going out of that first chicane, the Rettifilio, and that's compromised his exit. Otherwise, he probably would have been alongside Alex Sadler right now. But the rest of the field behind also in some close scraps.
Yeah, absolutely. It's actually quite close. I mean, you look at this front 5 cars, front 6 cars, all sort of within a second of it. You know, there's sort of like second gaps between them. And there's a little bit of gap back to Scott McIntyre, but then there's him, Andrei Rajkovic, and also Jan Berzina. They're close together as they all head down towards the Ascari once again. Dennis Guerrero, by the way, has been in the pits and obviously had to have a change of nose cone, but he's back up and running now, down in 10th place. Only 10 cars remaining in this race after that turn 1 incident, Johnny, and well, we hoped it wouldn't happen, and unfortunately it did.
Yeah, with a 12-car grid too, and it was just so ridiculous because they went side on into a car turning into the first corner. So dramatic there as Quokka now out of the Parabolica, looking at Scott Newton for 4th. But that turn 1 incident, there should be a 30 for 30 made on that. It was that bad.
Well, Quokka looking now, got the slight bit of extra speed from using the slipstream at the start of the straight, down towards the Rettifilio once again, hard onto the brakes, and it's going to be Scott Newton though, holding an inside line there, and he's going to hold on to the position. Quokka trying to get the better run out of there though, because you've got to carry that speed all the way through Curva Grande, heading towards the De La Roggia once again, and McIntyre's off, so Scott McIntyre has had an issue there, and down at the first chicane, so easily done. And
the front end damage.
Yeah, front end damage indeed, Johnny. Just talk us through it.
Yeah, that's probably the front end damage he had from turn 1 at the start of the race, and he's just more damage on the exit. He's lost traction, and he just has no confidence in that car right now in the Formula Renault.
Simone Maria Marcena has pulled out a 9/10 of a second gap here. Now, I mean, I don't know if you know, Johnny, about the slipstream in this car, but anything over a second, really, you're gonna be dropping that slipstream, and Alex Adler and Jan Silvasti would have to then work together to try and get back towards the leader here.
Yeah, that's true. Are they going to do the little Ferrari sort of overtake each other? You know, when you're doing cycling and take the slipstream, let the other guy pass, but that could cause more harm than really benefit. So it's so important now for Sadler for every single straight, even if it's this straight on the run to the Parabolica, is getting the slipstream. It matters. It makes a difference. 8/10 now, and here's Ollie Quirker.
Yeah, Ollie Quirker is looking once again. He was looking in towards the Parabolica. Not done it, but he's going to now head through towards the start finish line once again, and they're going side by side with Scott Newton, and he's going to just go ahead here down towards the first chicane once again. Hard onto the brakes they'll go. But again, Newton holding that inside line. He did it last lap, but can Kvoka get a better exit this time than he did last lap? He's certainly holding that position, and Newton's having to take that tight defensive line, hold that inside line through Curva Grande, and well, Kvoka, if he's going to have to go past, he's going to have to go the long way, and that's certainly what he's going to try and do. He's going to have the inside line then for the De La Rogia heading towards that chicane. Newton just getting into the side of him almost there, but Kvoka makes the move and makes it stick up to 4th place now for Ollie.
Oh, that was very close under braking. I thought they made contact, but just a whisker of fresh air for both of them there. And Newton now demoted to 5th. He's got to watch out because Richard Arnaud behind is extremely close too. And here they go on the run on this back straight with 18 minutes remaining. I think Newton's got a better run on Quirker than Arnaud has on Newton himself. Here they go into Ascari. Have a peek, Newton. He doesn't, so Scott remains patient.
He knows to be patient. You can make the move into Ascari, but it can compromise you all the way through the Ascari chicane, which then compromises it all the way down this back straight heading towards the Parabolica. And this is where they're heading now. And, well, Alec Foka just feeling the need to just defend a little bit. Here comes Newton looking down the inside into the Parabolica. Takes it down the inside. Can Foka get the cut back here? Get the better exit out the Parabolica. That's what they're going to do here. They're going to go side by side once again here. And, well, if I were Richard Arnaud, I'd be trying to get on the slipstream of Oleg Kvoka here, try and get drawn up to these two. They're battling away, they're losing time on the front three here, and they're still side by side down the straight. Newton looks to have a little bit of extra speed in terms of setup, but into the braking, Kvoka hard onto the brakes, over the curbs there, able to hold on to that 4th place.
And Arnaud gets an extremely quick run out of the first chicane, but he can't do anything of it. It's just very difficult here in terms of slipstream. I was expecting it to have a greater effect, but so far Arnaud, with a brilliant exit, doesn't seem to have the top end speed. He goes all the way up to 240 kilometers an hour, and whoa, look at that rear lockup for Richard Arnaud, and he just saves the car going into the corner.
Newton having to go defend. In fact, he's got a slow down penalty, Scott Newton, so he's going to drop back behind Richard Arnaud, and Arnaud then he goes through, so that is up to P number 5 for them. And yeah, it was all the wheels over the curb at that first chicane. That's what caused it. So Scott Newton dropping back there. Such an easy mistake to make though, Johnny, because you've got to try and use as much curb at the De La Rogia as you possibly can to straight line the chicane.
Yeah, it's true. And it's also, he's so close to Quirker in front, visibility is difficult in terms of your turning point. So generally when you practice, you're looking to the inside of the corner as your turning point. You don't use a marker on the outside or anything. But when you have a car in front, you always need that backup turning point. And Newton got caught out by that and cut the curb. So he got the penalty, unfortunately. But luckily, he's still only 1.1 seconds behind.
Front three are still as they were on board with Yoni Savasti. You see in front there, Simone Maria Marcena in the lead, this one by 8/10 of a second ahead of Alex Sadler, who's in 2nd place. As I say, Yoni Savasti in 3rd place. And then you've got that big gap, 4.5 second gap between Silvestri and Oleg Foka, who's in 4th, Richard Arnault in 5th, with Scott Newton, as we were saying, down to 6th place. And there's a bit of a gap then towards the rest of the field. You've got Andrei Rajkovic in 7th, Jan Bresnina in 8th, Scott McIntyre 9th, and Dennis Guerrerson after that trip to the pit lane in 10th place, the last of your runners, because Aurelien Tolmont and Fabrice Cornelis both caught out in that incident at the first one, and well, a little bit of mistake, and yeah, Rajkovic there has had a mistake, and well, and Sadler, yeah, dropping back here, Johnny. Now 1.4 seconds behind the leader, and this is all that Maria Masseno needs.
Yeah, he does. So that was at the exit of the Della Roggia, and Sadler went off into the gravel, kicked up some dust into the air, which looked beautiful, but not for Sadler's lap times. And he's now off the track again at the exit of Ascari. That's just given a good birthday present for Joni Silvestri. He's only 6/10 behind. And you talked about the slipstream and the distance between the driver in front. So the gap now half a second for Joni Silvestri. He's going to have a great slipstream effect across this very long main straight.
Absolutely, it's all about carrying the speed out of the parabolica here, using the slipstream of the car in front. Masseno still feeling the need to try and break any slipstream that the others have, but Silvestri not quite close enough, I don't think, to make that slipstream work heading towards turn 1, although he is getting closer. He's getting pulled towards that car of Alex Sadler, onto the brakes hard, in towards that first chicane, the Rettifilia through the chicane, and Silvestri now, he's looking mean, he's looking like he wants that position. He's right up in the slipstream under the gearbox of Alex Sadler as they're heading through Curva Grande, and he's going to the outside here, trying to carry that speed around here. Still side by side heading in towards the Della Roggia, hard on the brakes. Silvestri clips that left curb, clips the right. He's got the position up to 2nd place now.
Yeah, and Sadler had to tuck in behind. There was no room to go for the switchback because Silvestri parked the car in the apex, very stable under braking too with that left foot. So brilliant move by Joni Silvestri, who's taken advantage of the very young Alex Sadler, who is a very promising talent in sim racing. I've kept an eye on him every now and then, and he's gaining pace. He's improved over the past year, and he's someone to look out for in the future, I think.
Well, what we've got to do now is have a look at Joni Silvestri, see if he's able to break away from Alex Sadler, because he's now given the slipstream to Alex there, but B, also see if he can catch up to Simone Maria Masseno, who's in clean air, and he's got nobody in the slipstream, and here comes Alex Sadler then, looking to the inside, heading towards the parabolica. He's taking it quite deep, but he's holding back for the time being. Going to go through the parabolica once again. This iconic corner in World Motorsport through here. You could say that about pretty much all of this track here as they're going down that start and finish straight over the start and finish line once again. And well, looking at the lap times here, a 1:46.9 for Masseno, a 1:47.1 and a 1:47.8. But of course there was overtakes involved in that. And well, Silvestri just seemed to basically go on then, you go past.
I think he hit the brakes by accident, or maybe the pit limiter. We'd have to look into that, but he gave too big of a gap to Sadler there, so just gifted him P2 back. He probably feels the need to get back past him and have some entertainment. I don't think that's the case, because Silvestri is obviously going for the championship too, and with Masseno taking a win, he'd extend his lead over Joni Silvestri. As we look at Rajkovic and Brzezina, this is a battle for P7 and 8. Jan Brzezina very, very close here to Andre in front.
Yeah, certainly is. Under the braking once again into the Della Roggia, the left, the right, get on the power. And this is the key thing about Monza, Johnny. It's not so much about your entry into the corner, it's all about your exit out the corner to carry that speed down these long straights. Brzezina just runs wide, jumps up into the air, causes a little bit of damage on his front wing there. So easy to do in this car, and he's just proved how easy it is, Johnny.
Yeah, the rear anti-roll bar plays a big part in it, if your car has one. Anyway, some cars don't. So that's so important for your exit out of the corners, especially with your weight distribution and your weight transfer. When you apply the throttle, you don't want to hear those rear wheels spinning up, as Brzezina makes a mockery of the Ascari chicane there and loses immense amounts of time as we approach the 10-minute remaining mark. But yeah, entry into corners and throwing the cars into corners matters at some of the chicanes, but the exit matters too at some other corners. So it's a pretty much one or the other. You're not in the middle on this racetrack. It's either throw the car into the corner or don't do that and concentrate on the exit.
Savasti gaining the position once again on Alex Sadler behind as well.
Oh,
no.
Savasti spins.
Yes, so that's the third place man. Oh no, and Kvoka are going side by side as well, but yeah, big mistake there from Silvasti. He's having to get up and running once again, and he's now 5 seconds behind Alex Sadler. It's in that first chicane there, Johnny, and we've seen that mistake happen in the past, and it's just happened to one of the most consistent drivers out there.
And I think Sadler might have tapped him on the back, and Sadler apologizing on his radio, and he's obviously knocked our 100% race winner, Joni Silvasti, out of the pretty much contention for the win here, and it might give Marceno his second win of the season if Sadler has any damage to his front end, which I don't think he does. It was a very, very light contact.
Got a battle for P4 going on still, so Arnaud made the move on Kvoka down the start and finish straight at the start of this lap, but Kvoka now trying to keep in that slipstream, trying to keep behind, but those two can see Silvasti ahead now, and that's giving them a little bit of a target to work towards, and really they need to get the hammer down and not fight each other. But at the moment, you look at Arnaud, he's just trying his best to just take different lines, trying to get Kvoka out of his slipstream here, John.
Yeah, you've got to do whatever you can, but when you're in this type of car, you're almost a sitting duck. There's nothing you can do because there's just no power out of the corners. The dirty air effect isn't into play that much. I think F1 really needs to start watching this because we've only got 10 cars in the field and it's still pretty entertaining. More overtakes than the Russian Grand Prix, and here's Kvoka creating another one to that list.
Yeah, absolutely. Down the start and finish straight again, and Arnaud just dropping in behind. Now the question is, if you're Arnaud, do you basically just sit behind until the start of the last lap and then make that move? Because you're getting towards the end of the race, you've only got 8 minutes left of the race. You've got to think tactically, because you don't want to be ahead at the wrong time.
Yeah, that's a good point. It's also, how's your run out of Ascari and your exit out of Parabolica, because you could be alongside each other come the start finish line. Oh, it's going to be called the finish line when the race ends. But you don't know. You always want to be ahead. But at the same time, if you're confident of your run out of some corners, then why not try something different? Stay behind until the final lap and save some fuel if you have to too.
I wouldn't think that fuel's going to be an issue in a race like this. 25-minute race. These guys are battling away. Everyone's sort of spread out a little bit. It's just these two on track that are close together here. It is still Simon Maria Marceno in the lead of this one, ahead of Alex Sadler in second place. Joni Silvasti that we saw have that instant at turn number 1. He's in third place, and then there's this battle here. Oleg Kvoka and Richard Arnaud for 4th and 5th place. Scott Newton in 6th place ahead of Andrei Ranjkovic. Jan Brezina in 7th with Scott McIntyre in 8th place, and Dennis Guerrerson has had actually 2 trips to the pits now. He's down in 10th place, maybe possibly trying to get a fastest lap of the race here.
Yeah, well, he may be out of the event now. He's finally decided to retire that car, unfortunately, just as you say that. And that makes it a 9-car field now. What's the lowest field you've been in? This reminds me of some of the old Australian club V8 races I used to do back in the day, as Kvoka and Arnaud battle here alongside each other.
Yeah, Arnaud just making the move down the inside. Oh, he might end up with a little penalty there because he could have crossed the curb. Manages to keep behind, but he's just having to drop back a little bit there. So maybe just picking up the smallest of penalties there. We've got a battle at the back of the field here as well. Jan Brezina and Scott McIntyre. McIntyre's had a bit of a nightmare of it today after the start, the turn 1 instant there, Johnny.
He is catching up to the back of Brezina, though, so some positivity for Scott McIntyre, who's currently very, very close to Brezina now, closest he's been pretty much for most of this event because of the fact that he was involved in that first corner incident.
Oh, Arnaud was thinking of making a move into Lesmo 2. It wasn't going to happen there, but he's signalling his intentions to follow Kvoka, and Kvoka seems to be slowing these two down. Scott Newton, by the way, has been lapping quicker than these two who have been battling away. Here comes Arnaud down towards the Escara chicane. He's going to go down the inside onto the brakes, but he's now going to be compromised with his line through the first part of the Escara chicane, and that's going to then mean he's going to be slower out of that chicane. And here comes Kvoka then in the slipstream, looking out to the left-hand side. He's determined to get back in front, and he's trying to do that. Will he be later onto the brakes? Maybe brake a little bit earlier and try and get the cutback through the Parabolica. Takes that wider entry to then try and carry the speed on the exit, but look at Arnaud running it out to the exit curbing, and they're now going to go side by side once again. And this is what we could get towards the end of the race here, because that's the timing line they've just gone over there underneath the little bridge there at the start of the pit lane. And look at them side by side, almost making contact there. Well, what on earth was that? You got all that track to go at, and yet you're still wanting the same piece as the other driver. Very, very close there. Quick reactions from Arnaud to avoid any incident, but those two, the gloves are off now here, Johnny.
Yeah, wow, that's some good fighting. With only 4 minutes remaining too, you'd expect the gloves to be off. And let's see if Arnaud can reel Kvoka back in on the second chicane. Arnaud's either frustrated and trying to show... drivers do that sometimes. They weave around in frustration because you can't really communicate it in any other means. But he's very, very close here into Lesmo 1. Is he going to have a look into Lesmo 2, Paul? That's the question. He tried to last lap. Tried to scare Ollie Kvoka in front. Oh, he's made a mockery of the entry there into Lesmo 2, but the camber of the corner helps him pick up his mistake. So he's gifted there. And look out for the bump mid-Ascari. It really unsettles the car. So that's a big challenge for these drivers.
And looking in the background there as well, Scott Newton, that Apex Racing UK driver, he's tagging onto the back of these two. He's quicker by 1.3, 1.6 seconds faster than these two the last lap. So he's absolutely on it. He wants in on this battle. And while these two are battling away, he's just getting closer and closer. And he's going to almost make it a three-way battle for that P4 position as they're headed into the Parabolica once again. Just under 3.5 minutes remaining in this race here, and it is Marceno, Sadler and Silvestri. That's your top three right there. And then it's this battle here for fourth place. Ollie Kvoka, Richard Arnaud and Scott Newton as well as they head across the line, going down towards that first chicane, in towards the Rettifilio, and Arnaud is going to take that inside line. Later on the brakes, is he? Oh, Kvoka trying to hang it out around the outside, and he'll have the inside for the second part. Will he get the run though out of the corner, because he's going to be slower out the corner, and Arnaud makes that move stick there, and that's a different type of move there, Johnny. But still, Kvoka, he's going to be in that slipstream, and Arnaud thinking defensively, he's taking the wide line through Grova Grande, heading towards the De La Roggia. Once again, he's got the inside line. They're getting very close into that chicane, and it is Arnaud who holds on to that position for the time being, but now Scott Newton is there.
Yep, bring in Scott Newton to this fight. It's a battle for P4 in the closing stages. Arnaud clips the inside curb of Lesmo 1. You never see that at Monza, so that's really compromised with pretty much his whole Lesmo complex right now, because Kvoka's all over the back of him on this straight.
Down the straight they go then towards the Escara chicane once again. Kvoka and Arnaud side by side in towards the Escara chicane, and Arnaud is going to have to drop in behind Kvoka, and Scott Newton, he's just patiently waiting there. He's having a look at what these two are doing and picking his moment. We're heading towards a minute 45 remaining in this one, so when Marceno comes across the line, we may just have one more lap. We'll have to see how that one ticks over, but it's this battle here for P4 that we'll be focusing on for the time being. Arnaud doesn't really have the run out of the Parabolica, but now he's going to have that slipstream. Silvestri, by the way, has just set a new fastest lap here of the race, as here comes Arnaud on the slipstream, looking to the inside there. It's a very wild move that he's made there, but he's made it, and he's made it stick here in towards that first chicane once again. Kvoka having to cut in behind, and Scott Newton now, he's wanting all of this here, Johnny.
And if Scott Newton didn't make a mistake at the exit of the Parabolica, he probably would be promoted a position right now. But he's got a second shot here. Quoker doesn't know where to go, inside or out, and he chooses that outside line, heading to the Della Roggia.
Oh, Kvoka, oh no, side by side in towards the Della Roggia. It's a tight chicane here. You've got to be good on the brakes. And now he's going to try the cutback here. Oh, Scott Newton out control. He's around. It's Scott Newton. All that hard work, and he's not able to make it count. Kvoka tried looking around the outside of Lesmo 1. He's got the run here in towards Lesmo 2, but breaking early for that one. Marceno's just coming into the Ascara chicane, by the way. So he's heading towards the end of his lap, and it could possibly be his last lap of the race. But it's still this battle here. Arnaud and Kvoka heading down towards the Ascara chicane. Kvoka is alongside him as they're heading towards that braking zone, but it is Arnaud who will hold that inside line then through the first part. And well, Simon Maria Marceno is coming round the Parabolica for the final time, and he's going to see the checkered flag, and it's another win. He won the first race at Interlagos, and he's won here at Monza. Fantastic racing from him. Alex Fadler and Silvasti will be second and third, but it's this battle for fourth place, and Kvoka is going to get the better run out of the Parabolica. Fantastic run from him there. He set him up, and Arnaud is going to have to hold on back for fifth place then. Kvoka fourth, Arnaud fifth, and Scott Newton coming across the line in sixth. And look at this, Rajkovic and Brezina are going to come across the line together as well as they go across the line. Seventh and eighth there for those two, and Scott McIntyre right behind them in ninth place. Johnny, that's your field, but what a way to finish it. Alex Sadler actually finished in third place in that race. Silvasti getting him in the last lap.
Yeah, wow. So there you go. Yoni Silvasti promoted to second. You talk about battles at the end. When we panned off camera to call the leader Marceno coming home to take victory, the amount of rules broken with Richard Arnaud and Ollie Quoker at the end on that run to the Parabolica were immense. The weaving and the just the passion and pride just to get a fourth place finish here. That was brilliant racing. Who says you need a big field for good racing? Because I've had races in the past where we'll have 4 or 5 of us and we still have some great fun, and you learn a lot too. What an event. I really enjoyed that one.
And well, let's have a look then at your final results here for round 5 of the RaceSpot Sim Cup here on iRacing Live and RaceSpot TV. It is Simon Maria Marceno who takes the overall win. He was ended up winning that one by about 6 seconds ahead of Yoni Silvasti in second place. Alex Sadler in third place then in the end. Those two switching positions on that final lap. Oleg Kvoka just holding on to that fourth place ahead of Richard Arnaud in fifth. Scott Newton had that spin at the second chicane and just missed out on the possibility of a good result out of those two, but finishes in sixth place. Andrei Rajkovic and Jan Brezina came across together in seventh and eighth, and Scott Newton rounding out your runners in ninth place. And then the cars that did not finish, Dennis Guerrerson, who had an incident at the start of the race and tried to carry on but ended up having to pull over in the end. And then 2 cars that didn't even make it to the end of the first lap, Aurelien Talmon and Fabrice Cornelis, caught up in that instant at turn number 1. Will,
Do you need to sit down after that one, Paul?
I think I need to set my blood medicine.
Oh, even though that was only 12 cars, what a race we just seen then. Round number 5 of the RaceSpot TV Formula Renault Sim Cup. Fantastic showing by these drivers, and let's break a couple of bits of it down again for that first lap. It was a messy one, but you always think you might get a messy one down into that first corner.
It's a tight corner as that, isn't it? And when you've got a grid, yeah, even though it's a relatively smaller grid, you're all still together there. And it was going into that first chicane, and as we were saying, it was Scott McIntyre who just got back into the back of a car, maybe caught out by where they were braking, and that car could not stop into the side there of that would have been Cornelis and also Talmon. It was that got wiped out, T-boned there. Yeah, big moment of the race right there, and they're two of the guys who are actually up near towards the front of the field in your championship. So big championship implications there at the start.
Yeah, there we are. I've got it on pause here there. Look at those 2 cars. We'll take that away and we'll zoom it in for you. And this is what then happens as they come down in towards that first chicane, you can see that the two wheels on the right-hand side of McIntyre's car are just pointing in there. As they come down into the corner, he just can't slow down by the looks of it. Scott McIntyre runs into the rear, and from then, luckily, they both had the ability to slow it down somewhat. Otherwise, that could have been even worse. We often see most drivers having issues on the outside line, Johnny. This time it was down the inside. We do have it occasionally. When we do it, it's always hard.
It's very difficult, especially in sim racing, to judge when the driver in front is braking, just because it's so, you know, even the smallest difference compared to real time is so huge. So you just got to be careful. You know, if you've got the whole left-hand side of the racetrack clean, just take it. Why not? Go for that side. But anyway, you know what? You have those incidents. It caused a bit of a catastrophe to the races of Talamon, Cornelis, McIntyre as well, but you move on. It's only sim racing. It's there's not much more to it other than that.
And then, of course, we had that fantastic battle going on between the likes of Ollie Crocker and Richard Arnaud all race long, Paul. That was arguably, well, in fact, it wasn't arguably, it was the race of the day between those two. We had a little bit of Scott Newton involved at the end of it. Newton loses it at the very end there, just by the fact he got himself two wheels on the right-hand side of the second curve of that second chicane.
Yeah, and that's it. As soon as you end up like that and end up on the gravel there at the De La Roggia, that's just going to end up one way, and that's sending it round. I thought he'd nearly held it there and half caught it, but then it just kicked back round then at the last second, and that sent him round. So he won't be happy about that, but still a sixth place result, really good for him for the championship. But yeah, those two, Kvoka and Arnaud, it was just gloves off, slugging it out, seeing who was the alpha male in that battle, and Kvoka able to get the run through the Parabolica there, got a fantastic exit through there, and that's what took him to fourth place in that race.
Well, we're going to step aside for a few moments here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live, but soon we've got coming up the Super Cup, and well, before the Formula Renault were crazy, just wait until you see the RaceSpot TV Super Cup. We'll be back after these messages. You're watching RaceSpot TV on iRacing Live.
Watch Ernie, go, go, go. Car right, car right, car right, car right. Watch him, watch him, watch him, watch him. Jam it! Get ready. Dude, more heads up than that. Jeez.
Right on the back wing. Can he make it happen?
Yes! Yes! Push like hell. We gotta stay in front of these guys.
Both drivers on the push to pass. Contact in the pit lane.
All right, 60. Let that eagle fly. What do I do? What happened? Push here. Push hard. Let's go get this guy. Car outside. We're behind you. Control. Clear outside. Good job. Just spun behind you. I don't know if you got him or not.
He got out of it so hard. Look at these guys are all over the back.
Full throttle.
IndyCar. The in and out lap. What's next?
Come and get the checkers, big boy. Oh, baby, that was good. Hit me. Inside, inside, outside, inside, outside.
2017 Verizon IndyCar Series. See what's next.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to RaceSpot. Race day and qualifying is underway right now for the Super Cup. We'll get to that one in 1 moment's time. But don't forget, we are now just 7 days away from the greatest spectacle in all of sim racing. It is the 8th annual iRacing Indianapolis 500, and it lives right here on RaceSpot TV. No one does Indy like we do. And if you want a little taster of what's to come in a week's time, check out either the broadcast last week of the Apex Infotech Indy Elite Series, which was astonishingly good in the last 5 laps, or check out the classic IndyCar Series Indy 500 tomorrow here on RaceSpot TV, which will show the drivers in the older style IR05 machine. But Paul, it's May, it means Indy, and next week, the 8th annual iRacing Indy 500.
I know somebody who's a little bit excited about next week here. Isn't that right, Will?
Yeah, I mean, Jack is so looking forward to it.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he's absolutely... it's hard to control him. But, no, it should be a fantastic race. I mean, you just have to have a look at that race last week. That ending was just heartbreaking, wasn't it, at the end there? And... if you got the chance, have a look on the RaceSpot Facebook page, because there's the little video of that at the end of that race, because it is absolutely compelling to watch. That absolutely fantastic racing from those guys in that Indy 500 there, the first of the 3 that we're showing on RaceSpot TV.
Yeah, and here's the fact you need to know, 2 facts you want to know for the iRacing Indy 500. Number 1, no driver has ever won the broadcasted top split more than once. Number 2, the race has never finished under yellow. That basically means we are guaranteed excitement. You can put the likes of Tim Holgate, the likes of Brandon Trost, the likes of Christian Steele, Christopher Demerit, Ryan Norton, John Paquin, Tim Doyle. I can go the list over and over, on and on. Matt Cook is back, John Porzick. So many drivers have a shot at immortality, sim racing immortality, and that is going to be the iRacing Indy 500 next week here on RaceSpot TV. But let's talk very briefly then about the Super Cup, because, well, qualifying is already underway for that one. We've got ourselves 2 different sessions going on right now, and it is currently Mario Bottolotti on provisional pole position, 148.621. Jim Erickson in second place. Derek Pironi just moving himself up into 3rd.
Yeah, it certainly is, and we've got some promising some good action here in these Porsche Super Cup cars, because, well, it always produces great racing, but around here at Monza, and I'll bring Jonathan into this as well, around here at Monza with these cars, they'll create a little bit more of a slipstream than those Formula Renaults that we just saw earlier, and these guys are able to go door handle to door handle as well. If Johnny actually listens to words I'm saying.
No, I am. Sorry, I'm here. I was just enjoying the music, and we were talking behind the scenes. This is great music behind the scenes, perfect for grid and highlights music. Anyway, race coming up, as you mentioned. The Super Cup around Monza, I'd look for, at this track, slipstream still matters, but these guys are going to be so close together. I wouldn't be surprised if there'd be 3 or 4 wide across the main straight at certain moments in this race. And it just goes to show with the long braking zones and how somebody can lunge into that first corner from so far behind. That's what I'm so excited for in these Porsches.
Oh, well, this is it. I mean, I'm looking at the lap times that they're getting at these cars as Mario Bertolotti goes even quicker now, 148.4 for him. You look at the lap times that they're doing, they're actually not that far off of the pace that the Formula Renaults had that we had about 10 minutes ago in that race. So really good speed out of these Porsche Super Cups. So, of course, the Porsche Super Cup GT3 Cup car, not got any traction control, no ABS on the car, so we've seen in previous races as well here, Johnny, so easy to lock up not just the front wheel, but on the downshift of the gears, locking up those rear tyres as well.
Yeah, it's so important not to aggressively slap your left hand onto the wheel and keep downshifting if you're using a paddle shifter. Some people like to use the sequential side. You can pretty much map that however way you want, but sometimes you don't want to overdo it. That corner, and I know Spa going into the final chicane there, I'm talking about turn number 1 at Monza as well. 2 examples of corners where if you aggressively downshift, the rear end will twitch and you'll just completely butcher the whole corner itself. So one mistake in the race, obviously, and In the Porsches, you could lose 3, 4, 5 positions compared to our, what was it, like a 2-car field we had for the Formula Renault.
Yeah, so really these guys are absolutely on the limit, but you would expect that of these drivers. And Hightaler actually just going up into second place in qualifying here ahead of Kim Eriksson. So change of position there for that. So Jussa Hightaler up into second place on your provisional grid. Of course, 2 qualifying sessions, as Will mentioned, so we'll be combining those together and get a final grid for you when we go towards the race. As we're counting down towards the end, we'll just quickly mention the championship here, Johnny, because look at these championship standings. Joni Häkkinen, 152 points. David Williams, 148 points. Mario Bertolotti, 136 points. And Klaus Kivikas, 135 points. Really close between those top 4. And even then, Jared Filsell, Tommy Ostgaard, they're still pretty much in that fight as well. Jack Sadrick in the hundreds as well on 105 points. The top 7 in the 100 points bracket there. But really, really close battling in that championship standings.
It is. It's like a carbon copy of our Formula Renault standings. Phil Sells, our Silvasti. Häkkinen's our Simone Maria Marceno. But at the same time, maybe that means Jared Filsell won't take victory today. And, out there anyway, he's not even in qualifying. He knows if he could join the race, because we don't know at this point in time. Good to see Scott McIntyre, though, doing double duty. And he's back out there in the Porsche in a livery that would make you very, very dizzy.
I'll tell you what, Scott McIntyre is a glutton for punishment. If that's the case, because he's not only just done the Formula Renaults, and I tell you what, the start of the race, he's going to be having post-traumatic stress going in towards turn number 1 at the start of this race. He'll be hoping that it's a different outcome going through turn number 1 there, but definitely good to see Scott doing double duty here as well. The qualifying time has come to an end, so we'll be looking to get everything set up for the race, but we'll continue talking about those championship standings, as you mentioned there, Johnny. Yes. Jared Filsell, race 3, won 3. He's not quite had the domination that we had in the Formula Renault for previous races. He's had to fight for those wins, hasn't he?
He has. It hasn't been as close as, for example, Silvestri's just ran away with victories in the past. Not today, earlier on, but he's had to fight for him. He's been close. Strong names up in front of the order. A few Coanda cars. We know Bertolotti's always been consistently up there. But Bertolotti, talking about him, he's just lacked that little bit extra, I think, to take a couple victories this season. But if he can grab pole so far, and he can actually start the race, get into turn 1 well, break the toe, I wouldn't be surprised if he took victory, because he's got the pace, but he just, as I said, lacks that little bit extra that he needs to dominate over competition.
Yeah, certainly. We're just doing what the professionals call vamping. Let's have a look at the talking over while we're killing a little bit of time here for the session. But look at that, Bertolotti and Kivikas pretty close together. David Williams, though, only 4 points off of the championship lead. And it's going to be so tight, and it's going to be so difficult for these guys to be able to get through. Of course, we're into what the second part of the championship, second quarter of the championship here. Next time it'll be Silverstone, around the Grand Prix circuit at Silverstone. So another high-speed track. These Monza, it suits a certain particular driving style, doesn't it, Johnny? And some of these drivers will cope with it a little bit better than others.
Yeah, it definitely will. Into the first corner you go, into the Rettifilio. You're looking at trail braking and throwing the car into the corner, because technically turn 2 is where you need the exit. You don't need a good exit out of turn 1. You try to straight line the first chicane as much as possible, but it's a 90-degree right going into a 90-degree left, so it's very, very difficult to do so. The rear anti-roll bar does all the work on the exit. Then you go through Curva Grande, which is obviously full throttle. The second chicane, similar to the first one. You're looking for the same sort of aspects, braking late, straight lining it, good exit. Lesmo corners are important in terms of they're your only real sort of medium speed corners on the racetrack. I think Ascari is also, the entry is a bit medium speed, but the exit's definitely very, very fast. But the Lesmo 2 right-handers, the roll bar does some work there, but at the same time, I've adjusted downforce, especially on the front end, and it's made a huge difference to lap time going through the Lesmo corners. And then obviously Ascari throwing the car into turn 8, that's your other medium speed corner. And then 9 and 10, there's a bump at turn 9 that really unsettles the rear end there, and it just really annoys you as a driver. I've never figured out Ascari as a driver. It's one of my most hated corners in the whole world of racetracks. But I think that's why you love it, because you try to find a way around it and you never can, because it's like gambling. You don't know what's going to happen with the bump in the middle, and you just have to react to it. It's not something you can predict. And then obviously the Parabolica is easy, trail brake, and just to ease the car into the corner. Yes.
Did you just say that the Parabolica is easy?
It is, for me. It was one of my best corners. It was very, very easy.
You've got to get your braking absolutely right. You've got to hit your line absolutely spot on to be able to get the perfect run through there. And it's so easy to either miss your braking point or to just carry a little bit too much speed through there, and that compromises on your exit because you have to get out the throttle. Yeah. So it's a lot more difficult than you make it sound to be.
It's not as hard as it used to be at the same time.
Yes.
The fact that there's no longer a gravel track there, it means that people will push in that corner a whole lot more than they used to do. Just to let you know, by the way, we've got Mario Bertolotti's whole lap showing up on the screen as we speak. I would go halfway between the two. It's not as confusing as Sunset Bend, but remembering the fact that you come out on that corner and you need to have as much speed as possible, and 2 miles an hour exit speed makes so much difference. I'm going to argue it is more complicated.
No, look, some people do think so. I think my driving style, I did have a very reactive front end. So you could feel when you steered into the corner, the way I'd set up the car is a lot of teammates I had would have a front end where if you grab their setup, you couldn't really feel it going into a corner. You turn in and you wouldn't feel the tires doing any work. Whereas with my driving style, it was very reactive. I'd turn in, it would react to what I was doing with the wheel. It felt really good to me. And I just nailed the corner.
Feeling people's front ends rather than their rear ends. What you're trying to tell me. That's basically what you said over the last 2 minutes.
Yeah, in that context, if you want to put it that way, yes. I'm not going to... That's actually true. No, if you don't want to talk race cars, the rear end's the better part. But let's switch back to race cars. Parabolica is the final corner. Pretty good. I love it. Why did they make that a tarmac runoff area? They're making things too easy. 12-car grid. Yeah, people taking days off and all that. If I took a day off work and I didn't show up from that Formula Renault race, I'd be fired from my job. So why do people take... Is it because of F1 quali? Why are people not showing up?
Everyone
even
wants
to this
to see
race too.
Fernando Alonso complete a lap at Spain. That's the reason why. Because he's done more laps, I think, in that one IndyCar test session, Paul, than he's done his entire season of F1 this year, including testing.
Yeah, well, I mean, as soon as he'd done one lap, he'd probably done more mileage than the start of the Russian Grand Prix, that's for sure. Yeah, people are interested in the Formula 1, but do you know what? It'd be, be great to see bigger fields in that Formula 1, because we saw how good the racing was there, Will, and, you could be involved in that and get yourself involved in the Sim Cup, getting yourself involved in the Super Cup as well, because this is always great racing as well, and you'll get yourself some airtime as well on the stream here.
And I will say, as race control for this series as well, which is the reason why you don't actually hear me commentating, for I do a lot of stuff behind the scenes. We did send a message to drivers saying, "Oi, behave," because what we had seen over the past couple of races was a little bit of what I like to call that over-aggressive driving, just creeping in a little bit. I don't think we really saw over-aggressive driving in towards turn number 1, Paul. That is a natural reaction of what happens when you funnel a number of race cars down into that first chicane. And it wasn't as if anyone was trying to dive bomb. Actually, what it was is everyone was trying to get themselves slowed down to make the corner.
And you used the correct word there. It does funnel them into that corner, so it does get a little bit tighter. There's a reason why the edge of the track down the start and finish straight past the pits doesn't go right up to the pit wall. It's to try and keep everyone in that same width of track, so that they're not then going into that narrower space. But of course, start the race, you're going to be trying to avoid hitting people, and you end up over that white line, and then having to get yourself, force yourself back onto the racetrack area. So yeah, it's a very difficult part of the track, and inevitably you do see incidents there, and unfortunately we saw one at the start of that Formula Renault race, but it was nothing malicious, nothing over aggressive about it. It was just one of those incidents.
Well said.
We're going to step aside for a few moments here, ladies and gentlemen, on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. And when we come back, it's time for the RaceSpot TV Super Cup. So don't go anywhere. We'll be back with more after these messages.
Get ready, going green. Green, green, green.
The NASCAR Beginner Series, powered by iRacing, is the premier NASCAR esports series featuring the cars and tracks from the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. The 2016 campaign saw a return to the top of the mountain by Ray Alfalla as a three-time NASCAR World Champion. The march to that championship was not easy, though, despite the fact that Ray Alfalla took home the most points in series history. It just also happened to be the tightest championship fight we had ever seen. These guys are set for the 2017 campaign, and as it has been for the 7 years prior, it is no longer going to be a straight shot to the championship. We are going to see the biggest change in this championship picture in series history, as for the first time ever, there will be a chase for the championship. We're going to go into the Homestead Miami Speedway at the end of the season with the 4 best oval sim racing drivers in the world absolutely tied in the championship. You just got to beat the other 3 guys out and you will become an official NASCAR champion. You're going to get yourself a NASCAR championship ring and, of course, $10,000. These are the iRacing Esport World Championships, the pinnacle of sim racing competition. You can catch it all season long, live coverage on iRacing.com/live.
Welcome to the Super Cup, and if you thought the RaceSpot TV Formula Renault Sim Cup had good racing, then you're going to be in for a treat in this race as the Porsche 911s take to this historic racetrack, and it's going to be very different, mainly because of the fact that these things have what we like to call side battles, and it's going to be very, very close racing. But again, it's going to be a case of surviving turn number 1. Then it's going to be a case of surviving yourself through that first lap, making the most of every opportunity that comes to you, and if you do go 3 wide, making sure that you've then got the opportunity to push when it is needed. Back to you, Paul and Johnny.
Yeah, thank you very much, Will. And yeah, looking at the conditions then today, temperature 72 degrees Fahrenheit. It's partly cloudy, 10 km/h wind coming out of the northeast. So not too much wind for these drivers to contend with here, Johnny. And that's really going to mean that they're going to be able to run together, run close, and be able to fight for every position. There are a number of top quality drivers here as well. 22 cars in the field here going into this race. It's going to be fantastic racing.
It definitely will. I think the wind will also not unsettle the car mid-corner. That's very critical. I've seen that happen last weekend as well. I was at Phillip Island watching the Formula Fords. It was so windy, and mid-corner drivers would just lose it out of nowhere. It's just a gust of wind would come by. Probably a good excuse now, because Nico Rosberg, remember, used that a couple years ago, and now you could see it into effect. But as we said, not going to see it with these Porsches. And as I said, watch out for the long braking distances here. We're going to see a heck of a lot of dive bombs.
You said dive bombs, more like controlled,
overtakes.
Controlled overtakes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I've got a little bit of faith in these drivers. We've got a number of World Championship drivers, of course, from the Blancpain GT series, likes of Jake Maloney, Klaus Kvykas, Jared Filsell, Mario Bertolotti, David Williams, and of course Jeremy Bootloop as well, World Championship driver, holding their licenses there. So definitely some really good drivers, but not just them as well in the field. You've got other drivers as well who really good racers there, and Joni Häkkinen, the championship leader, was one of those. Not a World Championship driver, but he's leading this championship at the moment by 4 points ahead of David Williams. I'll be interested to see how they go and into this race.
Definitely will, but I'm looking forward to Bertolotti from pole. Whether or not he can sustain that advantage going into the first corner, and then the second chicane is going to be even more of a challenge. That's what makes the first lap at Monza so entertaining, is that you can get the job done at turn 1 and still remain in the lead, but then you have to pretty much do the exact same thing going into the Della Roggia, the second chicane.
These drivers having a little bit of a warm-up just to prepare themselves for this race, get used to the conditions out there. So, definitely these drivers are going to be pushing everything, as we saw with the Formula Renaults in the warm-up for the race, pushing the limits, seeing where the limits are and how far they can push things, because track temperature, it's only, 79 degrees Fahrenheit. So these tyres, Johnny, at the start of the race, first couple of laps are going to be a little bit cooler, not going to give the grip that they will after about 2 or 3 laps. Yeah, well, there's not much you can do anyway. There's no formation lap involved here, so you're really just going to be in no man's land when that happens. Brakes is also critical going into the first corner. Cold brakes means don't use the same brake marker you've used throughout the event. At the same time, you don't get the same run out of the parabolica going into the first corner. So that's so important, in my opinion, is during warm-up, is do a practice start from your grid spot and choose the braking point that's right for you going into the first corner, because you don't want to be guessing and being pragmatic about it. You want to be exactly 100% right and being robotic. Yeah, you want to get the feel for it early on, get used to it. And the thing that you'll find with these Porsches as well is that they can really throw it over the curbs. I was just having a look at Jake Maloney, who was going through the Ascara chicane. You could really throw it over those little sausage curbs there in this car. So you're going to be seeing a lot more of curb hopping and possibly a few more slow-down penalties that iRacing will be that implements here to stop corner cutting. Maybe see a few more slow slowdown penalties for these drivers because of the fact that they can use and abuse the curbs a bit more in this car.
Yeah, exactly right. You're not going to see that in the Formula Renault or in the McLaren MP430 later on in our exclusive World Championship event, but I was just watching Joni Häkkinen going through some curbs. They can even possibly cut those anti-cut curbs, but obviously you're going to suffer with the slowdown penalties. Häkkinen goes over the exit of the Ascari chicane. He goes the car over half of the anti-cut curb and gets away with it. So that's going to be interesting here today, because whether or not that gives you an advantage is a different question in itself, because the car spends so much time airborne and doesn't spend too much time reducing lap time.
Well, this is it. We're headed towards the end of the warm-up session, and well, Johnny, what are your final thoughts before the start of this race? What we're going to see today?
I don't know what we're going to see. I will hope that we see. Well, we don't want the same incident we saw in the Formula Renault race. Not trying to be funny there, but we want drivers to be smart. You never as a race director should you ask the drivers to stay safe into turn one, because I doubt any of these 22 are planning to have an incident into the first corner. You know, they're all trying to be safe. As we look to the grid, though, you know what? Let's just hope for good racing. That's it. Very basic cop-out of an answer.
Okay, well, we will be taking a look at that grid for you right now, and it is going to be Joni Häkkinen on pole position, then 148.322 ahead of Mario Bertolotti, who is in second place. That's the front row of the grid. Klaus Kivikas and Jared Filsell second and third and fourth, I should say. Jussi Haitala and Kim Eriksson fifth and sixth, and Jeremy Bootloop, David Williams, Matt McDonald and Ricardo Chaivon in 10th place. 22 car grid here for you today. Some notable names a little bit further down as well. Joshua Chin near towards the end of the grid as well. Scott McIntyre didn't set a lap time, so he's starting from the back of the grid. Of course, a man doing double duty here today is Scott, and well, we'll be getting all set here for the start of this race. A standing start, of course, in this series, so there's going to be plenty of action heading down towards turn number one. The engine revs then will be rising. We'll be all set for 30 minutes of the Super Cup here on RaceSpot TV and iRacing Live. Drivers looking to the gantry now, waiting for the green light. The green light is on, away we go then from the start, and it is a good start from Joni Häkkinen on pole position. Look at the cars fanning out there, going 3 and 4 wide, heading down towards that first chicane there, the Rettifilio, as we're heading in towards turn number one now. Will they all manage to make it through? We saw the big incident in the Formula Renaults, and do you know what? A little bit of bumper bashing, but nothing serious, so able to carry on here. Klaus Kivikas and Jared Filsell are looking side by side, and it's going to be Kivikas who's there in third place as they go around Curva Grande, heading towards the second chicane, the Della Roggia, onto the brakes hard, and this is where you can also get another big incident through your field. The drivers jumping over the curbs there, through the left and then the right, a little bit more bumper bashing. Did you know what? Everybody so far keeping it clean here as they're heading through the Lesbos now for the first time in this race, and it is, like I say, Joni Häkkinen in the lead of this one ahead of Bertolotti. Kivikas fourth, Jared Filsell in fifth, Haitala sixth, Kim Eriksson in sixth, Jeremy Bootloop is in seventh, David Williams eighth, and one of the championship contenders, David Williams in eighth place, ninth is Mark McDonald, and 10th is Ricardo Chaivon at the moment here. But Johnny, really good clean start so far in this race, and these drivers, well, they're on it now, they're really pushing. Oh, there's a car spinning off there, and that's Kim Eriksson.
He just butchered the Ascari chicane. On the exit, he tried to hop over the anti-cut curb, and it sent him airborne. All 4 wheels off the ground, and he falls to the back of the pack, though. Hopefully not too much damage to the underside of that car. But before his drama and his moment there, the top 10 had not had any position changes. Obviously now with Eriksson going down the order, everybody below 6th place is promoted a position.
Absolutely. So across the stripe they go for the first time then. As I say, Häkkinen in the lead. 0.7 of a second already in the lead. He's trying to make a breakaway, I feel, here. He's trying to get away from the rest of the field. Bertolotti in second place with Kvyat in third. And then Jared Filsell fourth and Hightower in fifth place. The front four are just making a little bit of a gap there. Hightower has just dropped back a little bit. It's about a second behind here, Johnny. And then you've got this huge queue of cars from 5th all the way down to 13th place. Just look at that, just snake of cars going through there. Look at how high they're bouncing over that curb, and in fact Hightower nearly went over then.
Oh, goodness me. He maintains it though. He's still in the top 5. Good to see such a clean start and a respectful start in the field between all the drivers, but I think the abuse of the curbs is going to come back to bite some of these guys on the rear end. Talking about rear ends all day, we're going to mention it even more.
And well, heading down towards the Ascari chicane once again. Hard onto the brakes, carry the speed through the first part, the left-hander, through the sweeping right, and then another sharp, fast left-hander there. They're not using as much of the curbs, and well, actually Häkkinen at the front of the field feeling the need to just try and break a little bit of a draft there on from Bertolotti. So heading down towards the Parabolica once again. Everybody just staying as they were, just staying single file, heading down towards there. So not really pushing, but it's Bertloop, Jeremy Bertloop, who's putting the pressure here on Hightower as they're heading towards the end of lap 2, Johnny.
And he's got some great pace in these early stages. So Bertloop there in that Coanda Simsport car, looking for possibly a top 5 spot here going into the first corner. He's a bit too far behind, but with the long braking zones in this Porsche, you never know whether somebody has the guts to throw it up the inside into the first corner. There seems to be a couple position swaps behind as Chavon, Williams and McDonald also in a scrap behind. McDonald and Chavon here battle for P7.
Yes, David Williams actually lost out 2 positions there. So McDonald and Chavon making it through. So that is down to 9th place now for David Williams as they're heading towards that second chicane, the Della Roggia. And well, Williams is going to have to fight back. He was racing a Porsche last night in a charity race for raising money for Billy Munger, so he's had quite a bit of practice in this car recently, and I know he does a few other races in the Porsche as well as the Blancpain GT series, and well, he's a very accomplished GT and endurance racer. Not really an endurance race, though. 30-minute race. It's all pretty much high-paced and frenetic. As further down the order, we've seen a change of position. Manzano has dropped down to 20th, last of the runners here. Scott McIntyre has made his way through. McIntyre is 7 seconds behind, so obviously something has happened to those two as they're going through. Towards the end of the lap, though, Häkkinen still in the lead ahead of Bertolotti, but not able to make that breakaway like he'd hoped to. And the gap was about 0.8 of a second a moment ago. They're going to come across the line. Let's have a look at the lap times as they go across the line here then. Häkkinen goes across the line. It is a 1:48.5. Bertolotti a 1:48.6 and Klaus Kvyat a 1:48.5. So all within a tenth of each other here. They're all pretty even for the time being. But really, you want to be the guy at the front of the field here, just because it's so much easier to race from the front here, Johnny.
Yeah, you're not held up by traffic, obviously. And Häkkinen needs to break away, though, to prove that he actually does have the pace, and he's not holding up Bertolotti or Kvyat. Anybody else behind as well? Jared Filsell, who is going for a 100% win streak, because we are on board with Ricardo Chavon. Going into the Della Roggia, braking under the bridge, just slightly earlier compared to the open wheelers, but here they go. There is that McDonald making a mockery of the second chicane. Chavon doesn't take advantage of that, and look at David Williams alongside him to the right hand side. He goes up into P8, so both of them butchering that second chicane, but here's Chavon going for the undercut and the cutback, but no confidence by David Williams as he brakes late into the corner. and takes the apex.
Yeah, it was good taking advantage of the situation in front of him there from David Williams, gaining that one position. But he's now got Matt McDonald in front, who is his next target, trying to get back to that 7th place that he held for a little while in this race. And these guys are all just dropping back from that lead group, that lead 6 there. So 4 seconds behind Jeremy Bergloopers at the back of that lead pack. So we've got 2 little big packs here. I say little big packs, that's a contradiction straight away. Looking out here, is that Texera or is it Lanchard? No, it's Texera who's having a little look towards the inside of the Parabolica, deciding against it. Up the front, Klaus Kivikas is right underneath the engine there of Bertolotti as they're heading down the start-finish straight, using that slipstream, deciding not to make any moves just yet, but he's signalling his intentions here. He was 0.2 of a second faster than Bertolotti, and Häkkinen, he's now made the break. He's 1.2 seconds ahead, and he lapped 0.4 of a second faster that last lap.
Yeah, good stuff from him, but there's a train from McDonald all the way to Mario Teixeira in P11. We'll add 12th and 13th there, Scott Lanark and Gianni Vecchio, who's 7/10 behind Lanark. But going into the second chicane, nobody has an attempt here. Teixeira is very close to Keutler in front for a top 10 spot. But see, they all take different lines going into the second chicane there, and I don't think it's deliberate. I think it's just drivers are mucking up their braking zones each lap around. You'd think with a brake marker they'd get it right, but
Joshua Chin's had an incident at the Della Roggia, and he's ended up in the runoff there. Try and find out what's happened there. He clips the first curb, clipped the second curb, and that just kicks the back end around there of the little sausage curbs. And well, he's back up and running after doing a quick flick around of the car, and he's down in 17th place for the time being.
yeah, he's all the way down there. Joshua Chin, a well-known name in sim racing, and here he comes now, just on his own. He's got 5 seconds to Stewart in front, Manzano behind 5 seconds. No real battles there in the back of the back, but look at Kivikas though for second.
I was about to mention, look at Kivikas. He's looking like he wants to make that move in that VRS Coanda Sim Spot car. He's having a look under the slipstream here, trying to carry as much speed as possible to go across the line. He's just carrying a little bit of extra speed. He's looking to the inside now as they head towards the Rettifilio once again, and do you know what Bertolotti says? You can have that, go past, I don't want to have any contact here. Let's get through this first chicane. Oh, look at the slide of Kivikas then through the second part, that chicane on the power nice and early, trying to get going again, and it seemed to work for him because he got a fantastic launch at that first chicane there, Johnny.
Yeah, good stuff from Klaus. Here they go into the second chicane. These guys seem to be getting their braking right.
Williams and McDonald, yeah, going side by side in towards the Della Roggia. And no, he's going to hang back as Williams for the time being, but Williams, he carries the speed through the second part that chicane much better than everybody else in this little gaggle of cars here.
So they all form up now going into the Lesmos. Very difficult to go side by side here, although we have seen it in this race once already. Williams through the second Lesmo. Good exit from David Williams. I don't think he's close to McDonald in front, but he's got an attempt here. It's only a battle for P7 though, so and nothing else to say. And
Scott McIntyre's had an incident at the first chicane, locked up the rear tyres, tried to get it going again, and then just spun it. It was not the best effort there from Scott, but when you consider he's gone from being in the Formula Renault to being in this Porsche Super Cup car, it's a whole different beast, is this.
It is definitely tough car to drive, very underrated, and there's a reason why we've added it into our support series, not only because it's entertaining to watch, but it challenges these drivers. You get a lot of big names in the Porsche. Just having a look here between second, third and fourth. Bertolotti creeping in on Klaus Kivikas, but Phil Sell goes up the inside for second. Bertolotti has to watch himself, but they all creep through the exit. Who's going to get the best run? Bertolotti spins on the exit, no traction for him, and he drops down to sixth.
Yeah, and David Williams has also made it past Mark McDonald, so he's finally made it to the front of that little gaggle of cars, so up to 7th place, back to 7th place it should be for David Williams after he lost those 2 positions, so he's finally made his way through. But Bertolotti, the big loser of that one, he went into that lap in 3rd place, he's down to 6th place now, Johnny, and it just goes to show how tricky it is to get the power right on the exit that first chicane when you've got a car alongside you.
Yeah, the rear end not stable for Mario. Paid the price for it. Koitala, though, he's turned around here, and that's at the exit of the Della Roggia. So definitely something's gone wrong there. We don't know if it's contact or not. The car looks clean to me. He might have just spun that around on his own, and there you go. Bounces over the curbs, nowhere to go, and he's lost a lot of time. He was in that fight, remember, for battle for P7 with Williams and the rest of the bunch.
And well, we've got Teixeira and Vecino battle for 10th place then, going through the Ascara chicane as they are. And interesting to see that number 70 car, Gianni, not choosing to use the curb on the final left-hander there, Johnny, of the Ascara chicane, keeping the car more stable there, because of course jumping the car over the curbs, it's going to just unsettle the car through there. And well, it just seemed to have it a little bit cleaner through that final part of the chicane.
Well, we should set up a tombstone for Kim Eriksson, because his race is done, and he did exactly what you just said. He bounced over the curb, race over, as Heitala into the first corner looks at Phil Sell for that final provisional podium position. And that's what I spoke about, even at the second chicane, turning into the corner. It's so difficult in terms of visibility. We saw that in the Formula Renault race, where if you're tucked in right behind someone and you base your turning point on theirs, they could butcher the corner and then you could do exactly the same thing.
It's so easy if you've been stuck behind a car for a while just to follow them, follow their braking points, follow their lines, and then before you know it, you're going off the track because they're going off the track as well. But Heitala is looking all over the back of Jared Filsell, and this is allowing Klaus Kvyat just to get a little bit away from those two. Leader, by the way, 2.6 seconds. I said he'd made a breakaway. He certainly has. He's hightailing it out to Dodge, that's for sure, as they're heading down the hill. And well, Phil Sell having to go a little bit defensive here on Heitala, and Bootloop is just waiting there in the wings. He's just hoping that those two come together and he can go and nick a 3rd place here.
Yeah, well, that's what he wants, obviously. He wants some entertainment too. He wants some fun. I'm sure Heikkinen, though, running away with his, well, what should be his 2nd victory of the season. There's still 15 minutes remaining, so we won't call it early, but so far he's got the pace. Was 7/10 faster than those guys behind, who were obviously battling with each other. Let's look at lap times this time around as Joni Heikkinen, our pole sitter, crosses the line and he sets a 1 minute 48.787 as Kvyat crosses the line with a 49.0. Rest of the guys behind also setting 49.0s, and Phil Sell does that with a 49 thrice 0.00 on his lap time sheet. And they're 3/10 behind now to Heikkinen, who is pretty much Paul. I didn't really see them swapping positions that much that time around, and he still gained some lap time. So imagine if those three start fighting.
We've got an instant. Teixeira is around, so too was Gianni Vecino. That's down at turn number 1, the Rettifilio. And it was a late dive from Gianni there, bang, into the side of the car. They both go around. And well, Teixeira keeps going in that 10th place, so he didn't actually lose a place, but big instant there, and Gianni's decided to take a tour back to the pits, and I think he's out this race.
Yep, Gianni's called it quits. He was mid-apex, so he did the respectful thing in terms of exiting out to the garage, or garage, however you like to pronounce it. Car hole's a better word. And he obviously paid respects to the rest of the drivers behind. Teixeira, that's very surprising, Paul. Didn't lose a position. Well, as you said.
it's obviously just getting the boot down and getting the car spun around straight away and getting it going. Luckily it's a low speed corner is that, so you're able to get going again and recover from that pretty sharpish. And we've got the battle here still with Jared Filsell and Hightower, and Hightower's looking in, trying to get himself big in his mirrors here, trying to make Jared Filsell make the mistake. But we've seen Filsell, he's a perfect record so far in terms of races appeared in and races won. Today it's looking a bit more of a challenge here, especially with Hightower, Heikkinen, now 3.1 seconds ahead of second place. And look at this now, Hightower, he's gonna have a look here. It's Filsell having to go defensive in towards the Rettifilia once again, and holds on to that position. But we are over the halfway point of this race. Joni Heikkinen leads this one ahead of Klaus Kivikas in second place. Then you've got this battle here, Jared Filsell and Jussi Hietala in third and fourth place. Jeremy Bootloop fifth with Mario Bertolotti in sixth place. David Williams way down there in seventh place. He's 7 seconds behind this battle from P2 to P6. Matt McDonald in eighth with Ricardo Chevon in ninth and Mario Sierra in 10th place. And well, it's this battle here at the front that's pretty close, and these guys, they're not much paint swapping, which is good to see. You know, they're keeping it clean here, Johnny, because I suppose with a track like Monza, you don't really need to be sort of like rubbing people and doing the old bump and run past them.
Yeah, getting kinky on me, Paul, there. You don't need to do that. They're very close. They can stay clean. They've stayed clean the whole race. There's no need to start trying the bump and run. Monza, most of the passes are on the straight anyway, so you know, you go side by side into a corner, and it's just going to be more difficult than the benefits gained if you start to bump and run at this racetrack. So it's just the track characteristics coming into play. But Filsell, anyway, coming out of the Parabolica, he loves that corner this race. Just seems to roll onto the throttle nicely. It's like that oval driving technique. The ovals where you don't need a brake at in the US, for those stock car fans, it's pretty much like the Parabolica. Just roll off the throttle, roll back on.
I tell you what, Filsell has made a little bit of a break from those cars behind, and is now looking forward, putting Klaus Kivikas under immense pressure here. But the problem is that all Constantine is back up there into that first chicane. He's got to start looking behind as well, because Hietala, Bootloop and Bertolotti are all there with him, and they're all wanting a piece of this action. So we've all of a sudden, Klaus Kivikas has just dropped back into the clutches of those 4 or 5 drivers.
Yeah, but let's see Filsell under braking. He just seems to... His car, I think, under braking seems to carry more speed into the corner. So his setup is really good for that. If he needs to attempt a late move going into a corner, his car seems to maintain that speed. So you look at the differential, engine braking involved too. If they go into Lesmo 2, lots of camber to help ease the car into the corner. Don't run too wide onto the gravel, although you can get away with that. Onto the back straight now, and neither of these drivers right now, Kivikas, Filsell, Hietala, Bootloop or Bertolotti, can make their way through.
I get the feeling that they're all just sort of sizing each other up, seeing sort of where the strengths and weaknesses are, and they're just starting to maybe get that little bit of, okay, I need to start making some moves now, because we're heading in towards the final third of the race here, and Filsell is looking a little bit racy now. He's looking like he's had enough of seeing the back end of that VRS Honda SimSport car, and he's thinking, right, we've got to make some moves now. We've got to move forward into that second place, Johnny.
He does, and Filsell, I think, looks the most shaky out of these guys too, because when he gets the corner right, he's probably the quickest, but he seems to get it wrong half the time too, as we saw there at the exit of the Ascari. Here he goes now into the first corner. Give it a shot here with 10 minutes remaining. Go, Jared.
He's hanging back for the time being, and as we said in the Formula Renaults, maybe you don't want to make that move too early, because if you're in front at the wrong time, then you could be falling back down the order with the slipstream here as well.
Yeah, definitely. You're looking into cycling tactics, aren't you now, Paul? It's like road cycling.
Yeah, we've got the old peloton here, but the thing is, they're not swapping at the front here. Klaus Kvyat is determined to keep hold of that second place as they go through the Della Rosia. Look at them clouting that right-hand curb, going into the gravel a little bit. Look at all the dirt and the dust that's been pulled on to the track there on the exit of the Della Rosia, and here at the first Lesmo, and also at the second Lesmo. And the second Lesmo is one of my favourite corners around this track here. You just throw it in there, use the camber, the natural camber of the corner to help bring your car around fast, and that's certainly what these guys are doing. And Phil Sell is doing everything he can, but at the moment it's just not quite happening for him.
Yeah, it's the same complex Lesmo 1 and 2, but they're different characteristics, especially with Lesmo 2 having the camber, ease the car into the corner. You can really apply the throttle through there as well, and you'll see a lot of people go tail happy through Lesmo 2 just because you can get away with it due to the camber. Into the Parabolica though. Phil Sell, the front end not stable as he heads into the corner.
Oh, look behind Jeremy Bootloop. He's looking like he's wanting to make some moves now, so we're starting to get a little bit of excitement here because they're all starting to make those moves, and Bootloop right into that slipstream of Hightower, but Hightower's using the slipstream of the two cars in front to maybe try and hold on to that position. Phil Sell is looking to the inside. He's not going to make that move stick, but he's making Kvyat see different lines of this contact, and up and over goes Phil Sell. He's not going to win this race today, and well, big drama there at the first chicane, and Klaus Kvyat just drives away from it all. He's happy. He's now 2 seconds ahead of the rest of them, and Jeremy Bootloop now up to third place ahead of Hightower, who was the one who made contact with Phil Sell then.
Wow, that's the slowest I've ever seen a car roll over at that speed, at that exit of the chicane. That was incredible. In a bad way for Jared Phil Sell. He maintains P7 though, but the damage on that Porsche is immense. So let's see his pace over these final 7 minutes, because remember, Paul, he's going for the championship and he's already missed a race, so he needs every single point he can gain right now, because it looks like Häkkinen is going to extend his championship advantage with a win.
Well, it looks that way at the moment. Of course, as you say, 7 minutes remaining here, and Häkkinen 4 seconds ahead of his nearest rival, which is Klaus Kvyat. Kvyat, of course, a man who's going for the title, is in 4th place at the moment, 17 points behind Häkkinen, so he's going to be losing a few more points there to Häkkinen, but really it's still would be a good result for him to finish second in this one. But look at this now, Hightower and Bootloop still absolutely neck and neck, and he's just broken these cars up a little bit. Bertolotti's just dropped back a little bit, although he's trying to get back onto the back of these guys, and well, Hightower looking, he's in that slipstream, he's been patient, and well, you know, look at the change. And Phil Sell, he's onto pit road, so obviously that damage, it's looking a lot worse than it was for him there, Johnny.
Yeah, I would have just stuck it out to end this race, because the pit lane is obviously long too, but you lose so much time because the cars are doing like a low, very, very fast speeds across the main straight. So Bootloop now is the biggest gainer out of that battle. Let's now head towards the second chicane, 260 kilometers an hour, heading into the braking zone. Look at Teixeira and Scott Lanark there, battle for P9 and P10. Scott, who started this race from the 16th position, is trying to make his way up into the 9th position.
I mean, you look at this then, out of the top 10, the people who started in the top 10, there's only two cars, only one car that's broken into that, two cars that are broken into that top 10 that didn't start there, and that's Teixeira and Lanark as well. So this battle for 9th and 10th, that's the guys who have been running through the field. And well, you look at the battle behind as well. Greg Stewart and Joshua Chin, they're getting a little bit closer. So a few things just bubbling away under the surface here as they're heading into the final part of this race. Under 5 minutes remaining in this one. And, well, I mean, look at the big gainers and losers in this race. Bootloop is up 4 places from his starting position. So too is Texera. Lanark is up 5 positions. Joshua Chin up 8 positions. So biggest gainer is Joshua Chin in this race. But going across the line here to start another lap, and it is Bootloop and Hightower. They're pretty close, and in fact Hightower's going to look to the outside, heading in towards the Rettifilia, onto the brakes, hard braking, and well, he's going to hold it around the outside for the first part, got the inside, but it's going to be slower on the exit there, and that means that he can't get the power down quite as soon as Bootloop, and Bootloop holding on to that position for the time being there, Johnny.
And these two are lucky that Bertolotti stuffed up his entrance into the Rettifilio as well as the exit alongside each other again here into the Della Roggia. And Bootloop sticks it around the outside. Is he going to maintain the line over the curb? Bounces over that second curb. It looks like Heitler is going to have the advantage into the first Lesmo. Although Bootloop, look at the bravery there as they go alongside each other through Lesmo 1. Heitler again here. This is the battle for the final podium position, don't remember. And it looks like he's come out on top.
Well, not just the bravery there from Bootloop, but also the respect between the two drivers to give each other racing room there, and that's exactly what they've done. So Bootloop down to 4th place, Hightower up to 3rd. Texera has swapped positions there, so Scott Lanark has made it through for the time being, but Texera is right up behind now, and he's pushing here, heading down towards the Ascara chicane. So everything's just suddenly happening here towards the end of this race. It usually does here. Texera looking to the outside of Ascari, getting on the brakes a little bit earlier to try and get the better run through the Ascari chicane, but Scott Lanark is holding on to that position, and for the time being he's sticking it in 9th place. But that battle for that final podium spot, that's still going on here, Johnny, and those three, Hightower, Bootloop and Bertolotti, there's less than 4/10 of a second between them now.
But to share up the inside of Lanark there into the Parabolica, just makes his way past
on Bootloop.
That's a brave move. And Bootloop now
down the inside in towards the first chicane, and well, look at them trying to hold it down the outside is Hightower, but he's not going to do it, and Bootloop makes that move stick, but will he be able to hold it in towards the second chicane here? They're going through the right-hander of Curva Grande. There's a car slow on the left-hand side there. I think is that Scott McIntyre? Yes, yeah. It is. But in towards the chicane now, Hightower is not going to go for the position yet. He's holding behind. We've got under 2 minutes remaining in this. We've reached the 2-minute warning of the race. And these three, they're absolutely going at it now. This is it. The gloves were off in the last race. The gloves are off with these guys as well. Absolutely giving it everything here as they go through the first Lesmo, going right out onto the gravel there. Second Lesmo here. Hightower seemed to get the better run through the first Lesmo, gets a really good run through the second Lesmo, but Bootloop just a little bit, just 0.3 of a second ahead for the time being as they're heading down the straight towards Ascari. And I can tell you, Joshua Chin and Greg Stewart, they're still battling away as well. They're pretty close together, so battles going on throughout the field, but it is Bootloop who just holds on to that 3rd place for the time being. But looking back, Greg Stewart and Joshua Chin going through second Lesmo, there's less than a 10th between them, Johnny, and you don't know where to look here because Texera is pretty close as well to Scott Lanark.
Yeah, exactly. There's battles throughout the field, although Heikkinen now is going to begin the final lap of the race. Hightower now, I'm getting mixed up with names. Hightower in P4 is very, very close to the Frenchman Jeremy Bootloop. And remember, this is the final lap as we mentioned, and this is their final attempt going into the first corner. He's almost got it done on the main straight here, Yuso Hightower.
Yeah, here we are then, down the straight, start the final lap, hard onto the brakes. Bootloop holding on to that position there, late on the brakes there. He's trying to hold it around the outside of the second part of the chicane, gets on the power, gives it a boot fall, and around goes Hightower, into the wall he goes, and well, Bootloop's going to lose another position. Bertolotti is through, Hightower's stuck there waiting for the cars to go past so he can get going again. Absolute disaster there for that one, but Bootloop is, well, he's still in that 4th place, and Bertolotti says thank you very much, I'll take that 3rd place. Joshua Chin and Greg Stewart they're still battling away, and Chin, Stewart round at the first chicane. Big mistake there. Bootloop still pretty close together with Bertolotti as they're heading through the Lesmos now, and your leader is heading down towards the Ascari chicane for the final time. Fantastic racing. Scotland Arc is around as well at the second chicane. It's all happening on this final lap. Heikkinen though through the Ascari chicane, he's absolutely loving this out front, but look at Bootloop and Bertolotti into the Ascari chicane, still battling away side by side, not able to make the move through the start of it, but through the exit of the chicane he'll be looking. But well, it's Heikkinen out front going through the Parabolica for the final time. He's going to see that checkered flag waiting for him, and he's going to take the race win here in Monza. What a fantastic result for him. He's had it all on his own there at the front, and well, Bootloop and Bertolotti are still battling away on the exit of the Parabolica. It's pretty close as they reach the finish line, but it's going to be Bertolotti who just finishes ahead of Bootloop then at the end there. And Hightower, absolute disaster for him. That contact at the exit of the Rettifilio, and that sent him way down then, down to 8th position in the end. Well, we're just waiting for the final few cars to make it through. Joshua Chin and Greg Stewart, they had that coming together at the, well, it was Greg Stewart just lost it at the first chicane, so they were separated out towards the end. The rest of the cars coming through here, but Johnny, wow. It was a little bit of a just slow burner. You had to wait for it, but then it all happened there in those final 3 laps.
Yeah, incredible. Wow. I mean, the bit of cereal box driving at the end of the race with a couple of brains lost with these drivers, but they were fighting for pretty much vital positions, so you don't blame some of them for spinning. It was all forward on the final lap. You saw some of them push over the limit, but we also saw some good racing, which is what we want to see, and that's what you get with such great talent in this field. You know, a very good race. The spins sort of made it a bit less classy in the end, but hey, regardless, we got what we wanted to see, some entertainment. Good stuff from all the drivers out there.
Okay, well, let's take you through then your race results here in round 5 of the RaceSpot Super Cup here at Monza. And well, it is a win for Joni Heikkinen then, who ends up winning this one by 5.1 seconds ahead of Klaus Kivikas in 2nd place. 3rd place for Mario Bertolotti. Only just got that one then, managed to benefit on the drama there at the start of the final lap. Jeremy Bootloop in 4th place with David Williams rounding out the top 5. Matt McDonald ends up in 6th place with Ricardo Chaivon in 7th. Yeah, Yusa Haitala, the big loser out of that incident at turn number 1, down to 8th place. Mario Teixeira in 9th with Scotland Arc in 10th place. And then the rest of the field, Joshua Chin, Greg Stewart, 11th and 12th. Marcus Caston, 13th with Jamie Wilson, 14th. Daniel Manzano in 15th place. Scott McIntyre finished, but it was a lap down, as was Blake Neck, who also finished. And the drivers who did not finish, look at that big name right there, Jared Filsell. Then you've got Victor Koitala, Gianni Vecchiano, Jake Maloney and Kim Eriksson all did not finish. Over to you, Will.
You know what? I've only just finished showing all the replays from what was a wild final lap there in the RaceSpot TV Super Cup. I'm sure the race stewards will have a little bit to think about after this race as well. You see Bootloop actually on that final lap, he tried to take too deep an entry into the Parabolica pool, and that's what cost him the chance of getting 3rd place.
Certainly did, and I'm just having a look back at that myself, and he was just desperate to hold on to that position, and he was just determined to hold on to it, and got onto the brakes late, carried a little bit too much speed there into the first part of that, which compromises him then. It squeezed Haitala there through the middle, and then he's run it wide. He's getting on the power, but the back end is just coming out there, and that sends him into Haitala. Big drama. Bootloop tried to avoid pushing him around any further, and Bertolotti says, thank you very much, that's a nice podium position for me.
And then, Johnny, coming up next, it's time for the World Championship Series.
I'm looking forward to it. Let's go. I'm ready for it. Monza is going to be good. It is a very short race because of the very, very fast speeds we do at Monza. They cover the 305 kilometers, the minimum you need for the Grand Prix distance, very quickly. But let's see if anybody can knock off Martin Kroenke from the top step of the podium, which we haven't managed this season in 2017.
Well, thank you very much then, ladies and gentlemen, for watching RaceSpot Race Day edition number 5. Thank you also to Paul Smith and Jonathan Simon for providing the excellent commentary you've heard. Also to And1 Design, official graphics partner of RaceSpot TV, ATVO, the official graphics engine of RaceSpot TV, and Isban Balao's track cams for gourmets. We'll be back in just a few moments' time for the 5th round of the iRacing World Championship Grand Prix Series, and as Johnny said, no one has beaten Martin Kroenke in 2017. So can someone finally break that one? Don't forget also, you can catch replays of the World Championship Grand Prix Series every week on Jinx TV. This has been a RaceSpot TV presentation of Edition 5 of RaceSpot Race Day. From us all here on RaceSpot TV, don't go anywhere. The World Championship Grand Prix Series starts in just under 10 minutes' time. Monza continues to live up to its name. Let's see what the Grand Prix drivers can do next.